Hi guys, welcome to my channel, More Than a Mom. You can call me E. This segment of the week is called Badass Women in History, where I highlight a woman who has made a difference in society, their community, or has accomplished something that was very challenging. I think it's important to hear or learn about these stories, not only because these people probably didn't get the attention they deserved in history, but also as encouragement to young girls and women that they are capable of more than what other people may limit them to if they are passionate about something. Today, we're going to be looking at Ada Lovelace, who can arguably be considered the first programmer for the earliest iterations of computers. So, without further ado, let's learn about Miss Ada. Augusta Ada King, Countess of Lovelace, was an English mathematician and writer. She was born on December 10, 1815 in London, United Kingdom. She married William King Noel, the first Earl of Lovelace, in 1835 and went on to have 3 children: Byron King Noel, Viscount Ockham, Anne Blunt, 15th Baroness Whitworth, and Ralph King Milbank, 2nd Earl of Lovelace. Ada was the daughter of famed poet Lord Byron, who famously wrote Don Juan, and Annabella Milbank Byron. They legally separated 2 months after Ada's birth, after which her father, Lord Byron, then left Britain forever, and his daughter never knew him personally. Now, considering he portrayed the protagonist of his epic poem, Don Juan, as a victim easily seduced by women versus the traditional portrayal of Don Juan as a womanizer in Spanish folktales, I can't help but wonder if he identified with the plight of his character in his dealings with women in his life and felt himself a victim of them. I can totally see a poet being dramatic that way. But regardless, he shouldn't have left his child like that. But as we know, even today, societal expectations of the involvement of fathers in children's lives are significantly less than expectations placed on mothers. But I do think it was overkill for him to leave the entire country. He could have just went a couple towns over, is all I'm saying. Now, where Byron was poetic and romantic, Ada's mother, Annabella Byron, was more straight-laced and, dare I say it, logical. Ada was educated by tutors in her early years because her mother wanted to instill in Ada a discipline for arithmetic, music, and French. According to author James Essinger, who wrote a biography on Ada Lovelace, Lady Byron wished to suppress her daughter's imagination, which she thought to be dangerous and potentially destructive, and coming from the Byrons. So clearly there was no love lost after she separated from her romantic husband, Lord Byron. Lord only knows what she saw that man do, the parties he probably went to, getting drunk regularly, showing a lack of discipline, who knows. But I can imagine a woman like that would probably want more structure in her life and her child's life, hence the separation. But somehow, Ada was later on able to combine the polar opposites that were her parents into something remarkable that was uniquely her. On January 5th, 1841, she asked, "What is imagination?" 2 thoughts. First, it is the combining faculty which seizes points in common between subjects having no apparent connection. And then she wrote, "Imagination is the discovering faculty preeminently. It is that which penetrates into the unseen worlds around us, the worlds of science. I interpret this to mean that creativity and imagination in science do not have to be two mutually exclusive ideas or ways of thinking. Forget right brain and left brain. All of our brain has a place when trying to process and discover things in our world. And I certainly agree, science requires a certain degree of creativity to discover new things or create new innovations. When Ada was 12, she decided she wanted to fly. How did she approach this problem? By examining birds and investigating various materials that could serve as wings: feathers, paper, silk. She wrote and illustrated a guide called Flyology to record her findings. At 12 years old. At 12, I was trying to figure out a way to wear makeup without my mother finding out, and this girl was trying to fly. Impressive. Now, unfortunately, her mother, who saw this as a sign of her Byron heritage making an unwelcome appearance, reprimanded her for neglecting her studies, which were meant to set her on a rational course, not a fanciful one, like flying. So Ada was clearly ahead of her times, but she did as she was told and gave up her pursuit of flying to focus on her studies. When she ran out of experienced tutors, she taught herself. When she reached the limit of being able to teach herself, she was helped in her advanced studies by mathematician-logician Augustus de Morgan, the first professor of mathematics at the University of London. On June 5th, 1833, Ada attended a flamboyant party filled with London socialites to make her debut at the age of 17. Attending this party was Charles Babbage, a renowned mathematician. A widower in his 40s, Babbage spoke excitedly of an invention he called the difference machine, a tower of numbered wheels that could make reliable calculations with the turn of a handle. A few days later, Lady Byron took Ada to his home at 1 Dorset Street to see him demonstrate the device in his drawing room. Ada was intrigued, even though it was an incomplete prototype. Later, she started writing Babbage about the potential of his machine and her own mathematical studies. The letters between them spanned from June 10, 1835 to August 12, 1852. In speaking of her mathematical ambitions, Babbage said, "I think your taste for mathematics is so decided that it ought not to be checked." Okay, can we pause for a moment? Can we just appreciate for a moment that that grown, established, educated man not only appreciated her intelligence, but encouraged it? Round of applause. That's how you do manhood. When Babbage began devising a new project, the analytical engine, sketched out as a hulking machine with thousands of cogwheels that could perform more functions with greater accuracy, Lovelace served as its key interpreter. When Babbage traveled to promote his work, he met a mathematician named Luigi Federico Menabrea, who agreed to write a paper on the machine. It was published in a Swiss academic journal in October 1842, at about 8,000 words. Ada ended up translating it from the French and added her own notes. But Babbage went on to say about her memoir, "Their author has entered fully into almost all the very difficult and abstract questions connected with the subject. She described with clarity how Babbage's device would work, how it might perform a particular calculation, for example, note G as it is known. set out a detailed plan for the punch cards to weave a long sequence of Bernoulli numbers, and is considered to be the first computer program. The science of operations, as derived from mathematics more especially, is a science of itself and has its own abstract truth and value, Lovelace wrote. Essinger interprets this line in his biography, writing, Ada is here seeking to do nothing less than invent the science of computing and separate it from the science of mathematics. What she calls the science of operations is indeed in effect computing. From the woman's words themselves, this science constitutes the language through which alone we can adequately express the great facts of the natural world and those unceasing changes of mutual relationship which, visibly or invisibly, consciously or unconsciously, to our immediate physical perceptions, are interminably going on in the agencies of the creation we lived amidst. A new, a vast, and a powerful language is developed for the future use of analysis, in which to wield its truths so that these may become a more speedy and accurate practical application for the purposes of mankind than the means hitherto in our possession have rendered possible. Thus, not only the mental and the material, but the theoretical and the practical in the mathematical world are brought into more intimate and effective connection with each other. Of course, Ada wasn't without her haters. Later, some scholars would dispute if she even wrote these papers. The Babbage historian Bruce Collier argued that her contribution had been greatly overstated, and it is no exaggeration to say that she was a manic depressive with the most amazing delusions about her own talents and a rather shallow understanding of Charles Babbage and the analytical engine. So, they were calling her crazy. The good old tried and true method to discredit a woman. It couldn't possibly be that she had an amazing grasp of mathematics that this critic could probably never achieve. It couldn't possibly be that she had a mind that was innovative and ahead of her time, because she's just a woman after all. I'm glad the machine's creator didn't have any doubt about how intelligent she was as he continued to communicate with Ada up to the year of her death. For many years after that, many people have sought to bury and discredit any of Ada's contributions in order to keep the portrayal of computer science, mathematics, and engineering as male fields. However, in the late 70s, the Department of Defense for the United States developed a software language called Ada, one that brought together a number of different programming languages in honor of Ada Lovelace, who can arguably say was the first person to even consider the possibility and reality of computing and computer science. Ada Lovelace died on November 27, 1852 in Marylebone, London, United Kingdom. Ada was the mother of 3 who rode horses, played the harp, studied poetry, and had the intelligence, articulation, and foresight to imagine the day when computing would become a science, which makes her our badass woman in history.
I'm somewhere in the middle, try to find myself again.